It's the Opperman Report. And now, here is investigator Ed Opperman.
Okay, welcome to the Opperman Report. I'm your host, Private Investigator Ed Opperman. You can find me at Opperman Investigations and Digital Forensic Consulting through my website, emailrevealer.com, or just contact me directly at oppermaninvestigations@gmail.com. If you like our show, be sure and check out our Patreon. Everything you hear Monday to Friday on AM/FM radio, you can find at Opperman Report Patreon. If you miss a show, it'll be there. All the commercials are cut out ad-free. We put up exclusive content. We put up content in advance before it's aired. A lot of free documents. All the Trump indictments are up there. The Lev Parnas letter to Congress is up there. The Devin Archer unedited transcript is up there about the Hunter Biden situation. Everything, a lot of free content, a lot of free documents. I love to put that stuff up. And by the way, what was it? I just got something the other night. I got it within minutes of it being public. I think the second person to put it up was like the Washington Post or the New York Times or something. So I'm pretty good at that kind of stuff. The archives are free. Go to Spreaker.com. There's a chat room. You get an email notification when we put up new content. I do a live show every Friday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you go there and look up our guest today, Patrick Bergy, we have an archive show with him over there. We discussed his many books. He's written 3 books. Victim of the Swamp, How the Deep State Destroyed the 40-Year-Old Private. Another one is Operation Shadowgate, The American Awakening. And then Operation Shadowgate, The Hacking of Mankind's Shadow. Now, you can find Patrick Bergy. His website is freedomstream.tv. He does a broadcast. He does a podcast every Thursday night, as many as he can do. IRNbroadcast.com. That's the Patrick Bergy podcast. You can find him on Patreon, help support his work, American Awakening at Patreon. And he's also on Twitch. PFC _ Bergy, Bergy. Mr. Patrick Bergy, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much.
What a long intro, right? Man, that's getting too long. I got to cut that back. Cut some stuff out, man. Remind the audience, man, who is Patrick Bergy?
So, I was the whistleblower in the Shadowgate documentary, and that was a documentary that was based on my a key tam that I had filed in D.C. federal court around January of 2020. And right after, so August 14th, this past Monday, was the 3rd year anniversary when Millie Weaver, a contract journalist with InfoWars, was uploading the documentary Shadowgate, and her brother, and her husband were all arrested on a fabricated, sealed indictment that was later thrown out as being fabricated. Literally, so while they're uploading a documentary based on election influence, using social media psychological warfare, basically the same things that were exposed, not even basically, these same things, same people, same organizations that were exposed in the Twitter 8 files is what I was exposing in August of 2020 when Millie was arrested while uploading that. So nothing was ever done about that. Millie and Gavin were later in November were invited to D.C. by Patrick Byrne, Rudy Giuliani, some others, and they ended up becoming, key figures in the dissemination of most of the misinformation and disinformation that you see Trump being accused of disseminating. Right? They were the ones really behind the scenes working with Rudy and these others. I was invited up there. I went there as a whistleblower. I submitted my affidavit to them. I wasn't there as some sort of like asset trying to reverse the outcome of an election. Most of the stuff that I witnessed there, when it came to the PCAPs and other things, I told them was garbage, or unverifiable, or wow, I'd be careful with that. That doesn't sound normal. And, later on, all of those things that I had claimed and called out ended up being accurate and true. So that would
Patrick,
be
real quick.
the elevator version of Patrick Bergy.
I always say the soccer field. We meet our kids, we're playing soccer. Who are you?
Right.
Yeah. But no, where were they getting this information from? The stuff by Hugo Chavez, and where was that coming from?
Funny story about the Hugo Chavez thing and the Venezuela thing. Found out later on when when Lev Parnas did a Twitter Spaces with Tory and Milley, that the former president of Venezuela was one of Rudy Giuliani's clients with Giuliani's lobby firm. Go figure.
Wait, which one though? But that was Guaido, right?
Which one? I can't remember which one it was.
Well, something, man. That coup that just took place, that attempted coup that was put down by the angry fishermen. Rudy's clients were all over that coup attempt.
These guys and their D.C. lobby firms making millions of dollars. Influencing policy that our, elected officials are actually elected to do. I'm wondering why we pay so much for these guys to do stuff that our elected officials are supposed to actually be doing, and in the process providing transparency for us. But you don't. You have the military-industrial complex. You got all these retired generals that basically run D.C. They run the D.C. lobby firms. My old boss, Jones Group International, General Jones, he was, I worked for a small family-owned business that called Dynology that his family owned for 8 years. And he was the subject of my whistleblower claim back in 2015.
You mentioned Lev Parnas. I've been talking to Lev Parnas, and he says that he was on a plane heading to Vienna. First of all, he said that that the way that Hunter Biden got that job at Burisnov was because through Rudy Giuliani's agent over in Ukraine that got Rudy speaking gigs over in Ukraine.
Would not surprise me at all.
Then he says the Russian FSB was telling Hunter, "Hey man, we got drugs for you, we got hookers for you over in Kazakhstan. Head over there." Then they were filming him, and that's some of the material we found on the laptop. What do you know about that?
I know that, I have spoken to Lev Parnas. I reached out to him because basically I saw him being attacked by the same people that I was working with, and they turned around and attacked me when I didn't want to play their BS games. Yeah. There, see, you don't have to edit that one later. And
thank you.
I can abbreviate, right?
Yeah.
And so, I reached out to Lev. He ended up putting me in touch with Denver Riggleman, which I was, as a former, basically a subject matter expert in data analytics, I was on the server side, not the client side. But my background was in, I was an SPSS and a past SW administrator. Anybody in data analytics knows that was like the go-to IBM analytics software back in the day. So I really, I was like a colleague, basically. He was a contractor, and we were in the same field. But then, I did like an hour. I spoke to Denver about an hour and a half, and part of my there were several other people on the phone. And a lot of my conversation, or some of it, went into the fact that I had received a litigation hold notice from attorney Abby Lowell, Hunter Biden's attorneys.
Okay.
But I had also gotten set up by this guy, Aaron Soroka, who was purported to be a journalist working with, the Daily Caller. And but he apparently was also working with Kevin Morris, who was Hunter Biden's attorney, his other attorney, the one that paid the $2 million IRS bill.
Yeah,
and then
guy.
they had offered me. I have it in text messages and DMs, right? He was like, "Hey, you should talk to him. He'll pay you over like over $10,000 for your information." And I'm like, "Why would he do that? All my information is in these affidavits, and I'm freely giving it to you right now." So I'm like, you guys just want to try to set me up and discredit me by saying, "Oh, he's taking money from Hunter Biden." No. So I turned him down, got away from him, and then I found out that Denver was getting paid by Hunter Biden, that same attorney. And I'm like, so I got pissed off at Denver, saying, "Why would you, knowing that I had this engagement, and this attorney was literally in an affidavit that I submitted to the Department of Justice as potential witness tampering," and I'm like, why would you set me up? Why would Denver set me up like that? And why is someone that is supposed to be like this fact witness on this stuff? Why is this person getting paid by somebody connected to, by Hunter Biden's attorney? So I separated myself from them. I don't think really Lev liked that very much because he's the one that introduced me, and I respect Lev, but I'm like, why do you guys do this? I hope Lev's not taking money from Kevin Morris. I don't know, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. And if he is, how do you trust the information that you're getting is going to be all the information, or if it's just going to be information that favors, the person paying them?
What a swamp.
I don't make a lot of friends. I don't make a lot of friends, Ed.
Yeah. It's just... one more thing that Lev says, though, is he was on a plane with Sean Hannity. They were going to Vienna to pick up one of the loaded laptops, and Rudy was supposed to be on the plane, but he canceled at the very last second, and then Lev was arrested.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hannity was arrested?
No, not Hannity. No, Hannity was on there to do an interview. He had nothing to do with the laptop. Just happened to be on a plane on another matter, Mr. Hannity.
Okay.
And
but Hannity was there, like, on the plane with Lev when Lev was arrested?
The trip was Hannity, Rudy, and Lev. Rudy canceled at the very last second. Lev gets arrested. Hannity's untouched. He goes over to Vienna to do some kind of an interview.
Yeah, well, Rudy completely set Lev up with Millie and Tori. These are assets that are... I know Millie is under an NDA with Rudy.
Oh, really?
And they've been paid by him in different ways. Not to mention, Rudy's now pushing their CUX device, and
what kind of device?
They have a thing called CUX, QUX.
Yeah.
It's a funny name, right?
Like a porn?
It's supposed to be, like the safe network for you to be able to enjoy a new social media experience on, but with a box that you pay like, hundreds of dollars for, and then a monthly subscription that you pay for. But they're better than Facebook or Mark Zuckerman because they never actually explain that. They just say that these guys are bad, you should use our service, and you'll be safe. But I'm like, everybody involved with their service has been involved with selling data. For example, Rudy Giuliani's client, Mike Tremarco. Mike Tremarco was the owner of Dish Networks, or one of the founders, or he was deeply involved, maybe the CFO of Dish Networks, very high in Dish Networks. Well, Dish Networks, Rudy and Mike Tremarco were in the process of suing Alexander Nix for like $60 million. Nix was the owner of Cambridge Analytica.
Right.
So I'm wondering, what was the $60 million for? Was that for, data that he had sold Nix from Dish Networks in the same fashion that Facebook got fined $1 billion for? I don't know. Seems like people would want to ask these questions because they were fined $1 billion